Welcome back to the Hockey Shop, source for sports. We're here in the goalie corner, Cam's crease, whatever you want to call it. Still working on that. I prefer goalie utopia. And it is somewhat utopic today because we have the new, it's January, but it's Christmas at the Hockey Shop.
That was a stretch.
We got new...
That's a stretch.
We got new gear. New gear. Catalyst PX3 from True. We've teased this. We've talked about it. You've seen it at the National Hockey League. Mm-hmm. Cam now has it in store. Made at the factory in Montreal by the Lefebvre. Cam, walk me through the PX3. I got a cool little origin story to tell you in terms of some of the development of this pad and the role Freddie Andersen played in it. But just let's go over the feature.
Well, features. The biggest feature. So behind me, I happen to have a 12.2 L87, so that's just the retro graphic. But why I have this pad here is that if we look, thigh rise, quite important. So 12.2, still quite thick up top. Now, Kevin takes that wonderful St. Louis inspired set that he's got sitting in front of him there. If you can figure it out, there we go. Turns it towards the camera. You can see how that thigh is quite a bit thinner. Main benefit here, you're in a deeper, lower, wider stance. You're having those pad tips come in front of each other and cross. Having that thinner thigh rise allows that dominant leg still to come in front without that pad binding and smacking into each other. So it's allowing, again...
less pad interference.
Correct. Especially as you're pushing around, lower, deeper stance. That's where you're going to find its biggest benefit. So that's one of the key features.
And before we move on to the other key features, origin story time. Freddie Andersen, Carolina Hurricanes, was playing in pads that were a little shorter than his maximum height. Has been for years. Dating back to his days in Bauer, he would actually have them, make them smaller than his max allowable. And I've actually had him demonstrate this in the locker room when he was in the Leafs, doing carpet flies, showing me how the shorter pads still close the 5-hole perfectly. But that's an ideal butterfly. The reality of goaltending is we're not always in an ideal butterfly. So it's in those moments where you're extended, where the pads aren't perfectly together, where you're moving, where you don't want to lose that inch and a half, or 2 inches of coverage that you can have. The answer, courtesy of True, was to thin out the top of the thigh rise and get him comfortable with it. Now, one of the issues that arose in the early versions was it was too floppy. And Freddie actually got a camera out and videoed as the goalie coach shot pads off the thigh rise to show how much movement there was. So again, I love this because it's pro feedback leading to product innovation and product design improvements. What did they do? They reinforced the thigh rise. And so in addition to being thinner, this baby is stiff.
Oh yeah.
So from the knee up, if you're looking at this pad, like when we talk about style of play and preferences, and I gotta be honest, in the National Hockey League, the most common pad profile these days is softer boot, stiffer from the knee up, and that's what we're seeing here. Relatively straight or fairly straight, very stiff knee up. But again, the beauty is you're not going to get that sort of trap door where it hits the thigh rise on a thinner thigh rise and allows the puck to get through. Correct.
And that's what we kind of want to drive home here a litlittle bit is obviously, again, as Kevin pointed out, that stiffness that is existing above that knee. But you're still obviously getting that soft boot. So, 12.2 wears, you're still going to have a familiar feeling pad basically through and through. What you're really going to notice, though, again, that less of that fold, less of that flex up top. The 12.2 can already be a stiffer pad above the knee, depending on how exactly you set it up on the customizer itself. But this is something...
This is another level of stiffness?
Yeah, I would put it as another level of stiffness. That's the best way to describe it.
Quick question for you, because these ones are all from the knee up relatively straight.
Correct.
Is there a pre-curve option that you can get where you can have this stiffness with a little bit more of that traditional sort of rounded top?
Now, you don't want to see, this is one of the things, though, is that you don't want to soften up this pad too much, or you're going to run into that issue of that trap door. So no, to answer your question. Again, this isn't a pad that all of a sudden...
So again, this is and this is just, for people that are trying to figure out where this pad fits.
Correct.
If you want that more of a sort of rounded pre-curved top, there are other options for you.
You want a double break, you want something softer like that, back to the 12.2. Okay, right. So there are still some more features.
Let's go into the other features. My apologies. I sidetracked us with story time with Kevin.
No worries. So actually, starting with the knee flap itself, trim down, and actually something that's a little bit better. So if you do strap up to behind your knee, that will wrap around the back of your knee a little bit easier rather than being the rounded block, which we've seen on previous iterations of the pad itself. Whereas this can bind up and catch a little bit. This tucks behind the knee a little bit easier. Allows that still to get that good wrap, but without that interference level that you potentially get from that basically round dough, almost bagel shape, we'll call it.
And of course, if you want to strap it down around the calf, that's there too.
Pencils have erasers. These are removable.
Pencils have erasers.
There you go. Okay. Fast rotation strap. Okay, some changes here. Most notable change from, say, the 20.2 to this. We do find that fast rotation strap, now on the inside of like your side surface and whatnot, we're finding that fast rotation strap coming down almost to basically the ankle of the skate. So creating a little bit more wrap to the pad, a little bit more connectivity, especially in that down low.
Now, the strap position is the same. It's just got an extension down on the inside of the leg. So
correct.
You're not actually tightening that section. It's just an extension.
No, but even that level of connectivity, we call it that like safety blanket feel, for example. So if you're looking for a little bit more wrap, also feeling that pad as you're, sliding through or setting into your stance and having that feel of it, at least something being there. Once again, it's just something that's been kind of added and worth calling up. So now for super scientific measurement time, just out of wonderful curiosity, how much thinner is that thigh rise? So on a 12-2, we can go inches, we'll call it just a little over 2 inches. And this is a 33 plus 2 pad here. So again, okay, well, I got this one right here. Ooh, just slightly about 1.5 inches. So it's almost a 1/2 inch thinner in the upper thigh portion of the pad.
So again, less interference when you're dropping into the butterfly, less likelihood that the pads are going to hit each other and cause problems. Chances are, if you do have a little bit sort of overlap, the pad will still get to the ice without causing interference. So that's one of the big thoughts behind that. I imagine it probably cuts a little bit weight. We don't have a scale in front of us to tell you exactly how much, but it feels like that's not the primary focus here.
No. I would agree on that aspect. One other quick note, gloves. So if you liked the 20.2 and the 12.2, the good news is the gloves haven't changed. They're the exact same thing, just new graphic. Obviously, you can still order 600, 580, 590, whatever your preference is. Got a nice 580 here in front of me here. I also got a 590 sitting over there. Once again, like it's whatever you want in terms of for ordering custom. That's all based off of preference. You can always talk about that on the phone, 604-589-8299 or 1-800-567-7790. You want to chat about the PX pad, gloves, what break angle is right for you. Is this thinner thigh rise going to work for me? We can chat about it.
And if you want to find all these options online, check them out at thehockeyshop.com. All the different colorways that they have, as Cam said, they've got different break angles on different gloves with different colors. In stock now, hockeyshop.com, PX3, live, ready to go. You want to come in and do some carpet flies like Freddie Andersen in the actual pads he was wearing at the start of the season. This is the place to be. Goalie Corner with Cam. Thanks for walking us through the PX3.
Thanks, Kev.